In this video, we unbox the ROBOBREW microbrewery and get our very first look at it. Hey, how's it going? My name's Brian. I'd like to welcome you to the channel. If this is your first time here and you want to learn more about electric brewing, see product reviews and all other home brewing related stuff, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you'll be notified when we put out our next video. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the Keg King brand. They make a lot of different things. The ROBOBREW is actually not a new product for them. It's something that's been down in Australia for a little while, and it just recently came a few months ago to the United States. I was intrigued enough that I got a hold of Morebeer. They didn't give this unit to me. I'm not being paid for a review or anything like that. The unit was purchased from them, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion on it. And I've also got a really cool special offer for those of you that are interested in this unit coming up. So stay tuned for that. But let's get into this thing and take a look at it and see what we got in the box. Now, I had heard some stories of people getting some dented units, so hopefully we don't have that issue with ours here. But we'll get into it and take a look. So, all right, so the first thing out of the box here, it looks like, according to some of the other videos that I've seen, we have a sparge arm, and it has a compression fitting with a silicone stopper on it, or silicone compression component to it. Nut there that spins down to tighten it up. It's got a nice foam handle. I would assume this thing gets pretty hot whenever you're mashing or rinsing your grains or whatever, so that's a pretty nice component there, stainless steel. Next, we've got a lid, and this is a nice glass lid. I'm imagining it's probably tempered glass. Got a couple handles on it, so this will cover your unit while you're doing your mash, and the handles keep it cool enough where you can grab it and remove the lid. So it looks pretty good. And it's got a little, for lack of a better term, I'll call it a dog bone there, and I believe that's to pick the malt pipe up out of the unit. So does have some pieces of cardboard material in here to try to keep the thing centered during shipping, so that looks pretty good there. I'm going to set this off to the side, pull this thing out, if I can get it out of the box. Let's see. Let's take this out first. I bet we got some screens in there. All right, so let's see, let's take a look here. Very nice. And doesn't look like our units came with any dents pre-installed, so that's a good thing. One little tiny out dent right there, but doesn't look like it's anything that's going to be of any major concern. Got the cord on the outside here. Looks like a nice long cord. Let's see how long that thing looks like it is. Looks like it's probably a few feet long. Yeah, I'd say it's probably about 3.5, 4 feet long, something like that. All right, let's see what we got inside here. So it looks like we have got the Emergent Chiller, and that's one of the things that this unit does differ from the GRAINFATHER is it does have an Emergent Chiller, and this is stainless steel. I'm not sure how many feet of stainless this is. It looks like it's probably 20, maybe 25 feet of stainless steel. And that's one of the other things with the GRAINFATHER, you would have to adjust your recipes to account for any losses in that counterflow chiller. Don't get me wrong, I do like counterflow chillers. I have one myself, but with a unit like this, you're limited to how much liquid you can get in there, and I think that any losses of any kind are probably a little detrimental to coming out with a finished product that you're gonna to hit your numbers that you want to hit. So there's that. Can't get it in there right now. There we go. There you go. I think all that bubble wrap and everything was kind of keeping us from getting that in there. So take a look at this. And there is your malt pipe, and it's a nice stainless steel. It's not super thick, but got a fair amount of heft to it. And incidentally, it has these feet on the bottom here, and these actually correspond with some. I'll set this down here so you can see that. Set that over there. There's a ring around the top here, a stainless steel ring around the top, And that piece there actually allows you to set the malt pipe on top of it. You just, when you take it out of the unit, you just give it a slight twist, and then that will sit on top of there, and that'll let you do your mash out and your rinsing of your grains and everything. So that's the malt pipe. And then down on the bottom down here, we have a, if I can get it out, we have a nice false bottom. And that has a pretty good perforation to it. It looks like some hop debris might get through there, but I don't know for sure. So looks pretty good though. I don't see any imperfections or anything in that. Piece of cardboard underneath there. And then down inside here, you can see there is the pump inlet and an outlet for the spigot here on the outside. And it has a standard locking lever on it there. Then you've got your return pipe for the pump. And it does have a locking mechanism for the lid on it. And I would assume that's so you don't knock it off of there while you're doing your mashing or anything like that. So it's got nice locking clips that hold that in place, so that your lid doesn't go anywhere while you're mashing. And that is pretty much all of that. So let's take a look at the other box. This thing open. All right, so in here is the rest of the false bottom for the malt pipe. There's a false bottom, and then like there's a recirculation part for the top here. So we've got, this is the bottom, and that actually sits down inside of the malt pipe down there. And actually sits nice and snug down in the bottom down there. And actually, you know what? I think I might have that backwards. I think this is the bottom down here, because this actually has some threads in it that go to the bottom. So take a look. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense, because that one fits pretty snug down there. The other one was a little bit loose, and that's why they have the silicone O-ring that goes around the outside of it, and that is to seal off the top of this recirculation screen so that you don't have any grains that are getting in the mix while you're recirculating. So, all right, so let's take a look at the false bottom for the malt pipe. And it looks like it has a couple of different tubes on it. And this is for recirculation while you're mashing. And it's got one end that has a thread on it, and it screws into the false bottom. And then this end has some interference clips on it, if you will. It's got a couple little pieces, little tabs that are welded on there. And that piece allows you to force this over top of there. It's got to get lined up just right. And it will allow you to adjust this pipe up or down based on what your grain bed is. And then it's got the top recirculation plate, if you will, I guess I would call it that. And it's perforated to keep, like, when your sparge arm is over top of there, would keep the liquid that's recirculating from just drilling down into the grain bed and causing some efficiency issues. Also has a little silicone ring that goes around the outside. And what this does, it just kind of seals the top of it up so that as you're recirculating, you're not channeling down the side of the malt pipe. So that's what the purpose of this silicone ring is. I almost wonder if it wouldn't benefit from a silicone ring around the bottom as well. You'd probably have a hard time getting it in and out of the malt bed, but the malt pipe, I mean. So then this goes around the outside of that. And it's got a couple of nice little handles to allow you to pick it up out of the malt pipe whenever you're done mashing. And then this basically just sits over top of there, and then it's got another pipe that sits on top of there. And this is for your recirculation as well. It's just kind of interference fit, sits on top of there. And then that allows any liquid that builds up on top to drain back down to the pump so you get your recirculation. It also has like a little tiny stopper, and that goes over the top of this pipe here, so that whenever you're putting your grains in, before you actually put your this top on here, put this over top so you don't get any grains down in the inside of the actual tube, the recirculation tube, and then into the pump and cause some problems with that. So then whenever you're done with that, you just take that off, and then you can set your recirculation plate on top, and you're good to go. Now this will go down into the malt pipe. Got a nice fit there in there. And then of course, like I said, this piece will go on top, and then the dog bone or lifting arm that I was talking about earlier, that actually will go into the holes on the side and then allow you to lift this up. You could even rig a pulley system up if you had a ceiling over top, and that would allow you to suspend it and get it up on top of the ring in there, which the ring inside of the unit itself actually keeps you from needing a winch or anything like that. So, all right, well, let's take a look at the kettle. All right, so as I had previously stated before, it has a valve on the front of it, and this is a 1/2-inch valve, and it has a removable flare fitting on it, or a barb fitting, so that you can put your 1/2-inch hose over top of that. I would imagine that, I think that is a 1/2-inch NPT, and you should be able to put some other type of fittings on there, maybe like a cam lock fitting or something like that. I'll have to test that to see for sure, but all right. Then over here, underneath of that valve, you have your pump switch, and it is kind of a water shielded. I don't know that it's waterproof, but it's definitely shielded so that any minor little spray of liquid will definitely not bother it. You've got your ROBOBREW control panel. It's hard to say, ROBOBREW. And then you've got your switches for your 1,000 watt and your 500 watt element. And then there's a little bit of some venting over here, and I'm sure that's just to allow some of the heat out from the elements. And then the bottom is also vented down there, probably to allow some airflow through that. So that is pretty much the size of that on the exterior. And then, as I said, on the interior, it's got a ring on the inside, and I think that this thing probably, I don't know if it'll come out or not, but yeah, it'll come out. So got this ring here. You can take this out. And if you want to do some cleaning, there's a little bit of a groove here where some wart or something might build up. So that definitely does come out, and should go back in fairly easy. So it fits nice and tight, which is good. I mean, you want it to fit nice and tight in there. You don't want that malt pipe to fall back down in there. So that is what I'm seeing there. And it looks like, actually, looks like there's a little bit of moisture in here. So that, I think that's a good thing. They test them, it looks like, before they send them from the factory. So let's take a look at this return arm here. And this actually is kind of twisted around with this. Let me twist that into place. And this silicone stopper goes into the valve, fits nice and tight. And then obviously this here allows you to tighten that down and keep that nice and tight. And then you've also got this ball valve here that allows you to adjust the flow of your recirculation. So that looks nice and smooth in operation. The unit also has some very sturdy handles that will allow you to pick it up. I can imagine they're sturdy enough to pick it up while it is full of your volume of wort. I don't know if I'd want to pick it up with all the grains and the wort in there, but yeah, they should be strong enough. Oh, and one more thing on the kettle itself. It does have some gradation marks in here, and you can kind of see them on the outside. They're reversed on the outside, but it does have some marks on the inside that looks like it starts at 3 gallons and goes all the way up to 8. It's supposed to hold 9 1/4 gallons. It looks like that there is some measurements on this. I'll test the measurements on this to verify what we've got as far as dead space in the kettle itself, how much the pump consumes as far as dead space goes. There's a nut down inside that the pump attaches with, and it's up above the bottom of the kettle about this far, so you're going to have some dead space in there. Same way with the outlet itself. So I'll be measuring all that stuff before we do our actual brew day, and I'm going to try to build a Beersmith profile so that I can give that to you guys and let you use it at your will and provide that to you. So I'll have that in the upcoming next video. But that's kind of an overview of the system. Like I said, we will be brewing on it. We will have brewed on it the Saturday before this video comes out. And I will have a very special offer for all of you that are interested in this. So definitely stay tuned, because the very next video after this one is going to be our brewing footage and then the announcement on the special offer with our good friends over at Morebeer. So in closing, keep brewing. This has been Brian with Short Circuited Brewers, and we will see you on the next video. Have a good one.